Stocks. I'm Mark Gardner. It'll be a short one today, let me tell you. Tech continued the rebound as risk on returned for reasons I cannot find, to be brutally honest. Basically, we had quite a few of these big tech names bounce back. Google did a massive raising, I believe 15 billion. Some of these defensive names gave back a little bit of ground, this is the hardest days to do the morning report. Is when nothing's gone on, but there's been a move, and everyone expects you to find a reason for it. Sometimes there's no reason. So we just really had some bounce backs in some of those stocks that got absolutely hammered towards the end of last week. Oracle and Microsoft being two, Palantir being another. Some of the chip stocks bounced back a little bit. Obviously, Nvidia continued, and then your Berkshire Hathaways and your Apples, etc., drifted off a little bit. And Walmart, which had been on a good run as that defensive rotation was happening. Like I said, we've got a US employment number which has been delayed from last Friday till this Wednesday night, which is reportedly poor. So, we've had government officials say as much or hint as much. So perhaps there is a rate cut hopes sort of vibe going through the market a little bit. Realistically, there was nothing of any sort overnight that that really justified any sort of move in either direction, I've got to say. On Semiconductor reported quite well. They're more sort of, they do sort of chips for a lot of the, sensors and things like that. Just ignore those technicals there. We had a little bit of a bounce back there yesterday. So we essentially we switched back to nearly all green across these. Apologies, they are yesterday's there. I'll try and fix that, in a moment. But basically, we're back to nearly strong buy or buy across the board and on just about every time frame overall. They are correct. That was one of the best days in the ASX for quite some time. The Nikkei had an insane rally on the back of an election result, but as I've said a number of times, sort of doing their own thing. Nasdaq's still down on a 5-day basis overall, and we're really, we're at this point where the bounce back in tech really is it's still fairly tentative, I would say. Overall, it doesn't really feel to me to be that to be that solid as it stands, and the earnings didn't really justify any of the upside. Any of this sort of bounce back or upside. It'll be a big year for corporate bonds, that's for sure, with this, with all of these companies issuing a whole bunch of debt. But realistically, in inflationary environments, which is obviously what they're suspecting is going to happen, issuing debt's a smart thing to do. We'll have an article perhaps on that sometime in the on Mosaic very soon. Yeah, but just switching over now to the commodities. Gold bounced back, and silver bounced back as well. Again, strange that we haven't had an update there this morning on those charts. I'm just quickly get that updated. But again, it was not really there's nothing really justifying. I think it's just falling back into the range overall, and we're and essentially, where that silver range is has been, was stretched at the bottom end of the range and the top end of the range, and realistically, we really want to be ignoring probably a good chunk of those ranges there in those precious metals overall, because it was just one of those really silly volatile times where it was probably more led by margin calls, etc., than fundamentals than anything else. Yeah, just moving on to the calendar now. Nothing much really here, in the US this week. Just a bunch of fairly standard, companies. None of the massive ones. Southern Copper might be interesting to have a look at. Apple Oven as well. Macquarie reported earnings this morning better than expected, and the funds under management was a little bit better than expected. So we'll probably expect some positivity there. We've got CSL's 7 Group Holdings, Evolution on Wednesday, Breville AMP, Pro Medicus, Temple and Webster, Northern Star, South 32 on Thursday, and Cochlear Nick Scali on the Friday as well. But yeah, we've got retail sales tonight in the States and a couple of Fed speakers. And I don't think we'll pay much attention to RBA Hunter tomorrow, US employment Wednesday night, and then the pretty important CPI number on Friday there as well. So yeah, I think we're sort of a little bit on hold here for the moment, and I wouldn't imagine much is going to happen until we start to see those numbers come through in the from the US on Wednesday night. But yeah, as I say, fairly quiet overall. This is just an example of where the algos really force these massive extensions at the ends of ranges. So this was supposedly one of the biggest investment banks in the world getting stopped out. A bunch of along with a bunch of other I would imagine mean reverting traders that have done very well in silver. So that's just a blow off top. We did call that at the time. We did sell around the 110 and switch to silver miners. And this portion here, I mean, this fallback here realistically wouldn't have been anywhere near as extreme, and we have just so really that 90, probably that 75 to 95 range, I would expect to probably hold for the short to medium term overall. So yeah, we'll sort of keep an eye on that. Obviously, we're now. I mean, this chart's is a day or two old. We're already back to around this sort of 83 region anyway, so we're back towards the middle of the range. And silver miners and gold miners doing extraordinarily well. Yeah, go to Mosaic, mosaic.mpcmarkets.com.au, or you can scan the QR code down there on the right-hand side. For $149 a month or less than a coffee a day, you can get 4 recommendation services, buy and hold, short-term ones, ETF portfolios. We've got all our content, podcasts, investor education, and market news and portfolio tips as well, all delivered to the palm of your hand or to your desktop. On desktop, the Apple App Store and Google Play, and yeah, you can go and have your first month free there, and just sign up by scanning that, or going to mosaic.com.au. You can have a little bit of a test run, and sort of limited to a few articles, but with some of the content as well. So you can just click through and see some of these articles that that we're producing. So increasingly, even I'm seeing in making them creating the morning report and the morning call here for you guys. Everything is just AI, and you've got to filter through so much garbage now. Let us do that job for you, and filter through the crap, and so you get what you need to know when you need to know it. But we'll start to heat up on earnings season. We'll start to be a little bit more ASX focused, in the over the coming sort of week or two, as we really heat up into earnings season. I think Car Group had a pretty good result yesterday and rallied. We'll make sure we sort of keep up to date pre-market, so if you're holding any of those stocks, you can get onto either taking some profit or adding or stopping out, or etc. So have a great